NSA influencer, welcome back to the Global Media Studios themselves. My name is Rich Hard itself, and I'm with Konwatsitsawi. How did I do? Good?
Very good. Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
100%.
Yes.
Konwatsitsawi, thank you very much for joining us. All right.
Thank you.
And today we're going to be talking about education. All right. And
Right.
not only from the education, but the education itself, the awareness for our Native American communities. And I think it's extremely important itself because we were talking about Native Americans. We were talking about reservation.
Right.
All right. And we were talking about, what that I never really understood the reservation as a fact itself. They were isolated, pushed into,
Right.
instead of allowing to grow in their native lands.
Right.
All right. So let's start from there, from the education standpoint.
Okay.
Why is this necessary?
Well, it's necessary because most of North America has kept it as a hidden history in a hidden history vault. So it's been very quiet.
Okay.
So for over 100 years, well, of course, all Indians,
Yeah.
like we're in Arizona now, there's 22 Indian tribes
Which is amazing to me. Okay.
here in Arizona. So almost all of them, if not all of them, are on reservations. And that means that is reserved for Indians, and the rest of the land here is reserved for non-Indians.
Right.
So that a lot of people seem to think that, the Indians chose to go there.
Right.
And it wasn't that way, because as the North Americans came in, they decided that this is the land for us.
Yeah,
This is the
right.
best land. This is a priority for us. This is what's going to work for us. So we need to move the Indians to an area and a territory.
Isolation.
Absolute isolation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Which
So-
is not right, not fair.
right.
All right. But that's how government work.
That's
okay.
right.
Without a
That's-
doubt.
It's
All right.
political. So it was a political system put in
Sure.
place.
Exactly. So now we're talking about the education, and so our what we normally think about education is education itself or bringing up, but this is now awareness,
Right.
all right, to what's going on. So how do we bridge this, all right, from what you do, all right, from an education standpoint,
Yeah.
all right, on the awareness, especially from those themselves related to the Native American communities, all right, and those themselves outside, because I think there's a disconnect.
Absolutely.
I think there's a complete void in the center or
Absolutely.
divide, all right, that's really separating things
Right.
themselves. So how do we bring this back?
Well, we bring it back by being honest and bringing back opening the hidden history
Okay.
vault and bringing out the documents, the treaties, the forced relocations, the forced dispossession,
Okay.
the Indian boarding schools. So in the U.S., there's Indian boarding schools. In Canada, it's the Indian residential school.
Okay.
So all Indian children were forced
Okay.
to attend Indian boarding schools. In the U.S., it's called boarding
Right.
schools. So they were segregated,
Wow.
separated, and severed from their parents, their land. So they had to attend legally. They were forced by the U.S. and Canadian governments the parents were forced to give up their children
Right.
to send them to Indian boarding schools.
Huh.
So that is clearly a disconnect, because this has not been in the history books throughout my education. I'm a
Sure, right.
highly educated individual. I went through elementary, high school,
Good.
almost always in non-native entities or
Okay.
institutions.
Right.
And then when I left my reservation, so I was born and raised on a reservation,
Okay.
and I lived in the New Mexico area here on a reservation for about 5 years.
Okay.
So when I lived in a pueblo,
Okay.
I helped a lot of the educators to learn this education. But of course, it's colonization is what it is.
Okay. I got you.
So most of the educators in Indian reservations were non-Indian people.
Okay.
So I found that many of the educators who had come outside of the reservation didn't even know their own American history
Yeah.
that was there specifically targeting Native American children.
So you're bringing this culture,
Yes.
all right, in through your education.
Right.
Okay. Because you were born. All right,
Right.
and raised
Right.
already in this education. So you have a complete different perspective
Absolutely.
on this already. What are we missing?
Well, I think a lot of what you see here is missing. So here we are in a beautiful hotel built, of course, on Indian land.
Right.
And we are invisible as Indigenous people.
Okay.
I could
right.
mix in both worlds. Many people think I'm Hispanic, Latina, or, Portuguese or white woman, but I was born and raised on it. My mother's an Indian, so I was born and raised on the Indian reservation. And even in the hotels and all the places, you will not see a photo or a picture of any Native American
Right.
in the hotel. I noticed when we walked in, there's what we call a fetish. There's a little bear
Right.
statue. There's a
I
fetish.
saw him.
Yeah.
He almost
So
bit me.
yes, I know. And then as I walked through the property, I started to look on the wall. So this is what people are missing, is that the aspect of invisibility
Sure. Right.
is an avenue of racism
Right.
that people don't
Okay.
realize. What they don't see is
There's no direct
continuing.
incorporation.
There is none.
Yeah,
So
that's
part of
the-
my learning, I think, was being born and raised on an Indian reservation, and then my view is really from the bottom up. So because I went into colonizing institutions,
Right.
universities, I have a master's degree, bachelor's, AA. So I had to really deeply look through the archives. I had to go through the churches, the Jesuit records. I had to go through a lot of records to find out why this was suppressed.
Yeah.
Basically,
Understand the histories.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the transition or the transgressions through this history.
Absolutely.
All right. Which makes it very, you really pointed something out for the fact itself that I walked through this hotel, not realizing itself there's 22 tribes in the area of.
Right.
Okay. And not only realizing themselves that, where I'm sitting in Arizona, I'm not seeing a lot of, and please don't blame the hotel just right
No,
yet.
no, of course not. It's everywhere. The
Right. 'Cause
invisibility.
they'll kick me out. I got a couple days I still have to stay
I
here.
know. Me too. Me too. I know. But it's an important
Relationship.
It absolutely is,
Right.
because right now it's a parental childlike relationship,
Right.
where my goal in educating people in what I do is to bring a partnership that
Yeah.
people have the economic privilege
Yeah, right.
and opportunities
Opportunity,
that
yeah.
everybody else has.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your education. All right. Not the education itself that got you to this particular point, but educating those, all right, who need to be educated. Okay.
Good point. Yes.
So what particular groups themselves, the individuals themselves, are we focusing on?
Well, I work a lot in universities. I also work a lot in the Indigenous communities,
Okay.
because a lot of my focus particularly in my master's degree, which focused because my grandparents went to Indian residential or boarding school,
Okay.
and they were forcibly removed from their families to go 700 miles to a whole different province in Canada. And when my grandfather told me when I was 10 that he went to residential school, I thought, at 10 years old, that was a very big English word, English word for me. I didn't know what he meant.
Right.
So as I got into university, I learned that even my professors, who were, emeritus, and they were, huge, they were doctors and
Yeah,
PhDs,
right, exactly.
and they didn't even know that the Indian population went to the Indian residential schools. So I found myself sitting in a classroom in a university. This is 22 years ago. I got
Right.
my master's, and I was teaching the teachers
Right.
that what they didn't know.
Sure.
And of course, many people don't know what they don't know.
Sure.
So when they walk into a hotel, and my joy yesterday was to watch the Indian dancers come in
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
do
An opening. Right.
and do an opening here, and to bring culture and
Right, exactly.
beauty and the awareness and
Of
looking
heritage.
of absolutely of
Yeah,
heritage
yeah.
of what of the land we are on, the
Right.
peoples who had to be displaced for us to enjoy this kind of beauty,
Yeah.
but to also bring in and couple and marry that beauty with the ancient traditions of the first peoples of the land.
Wow. That is amazing. And you've actually educated me.
Oh, thank
All
you.
right, today in the process. So thank you very much. All right. But if there's one thing itself that we want to leave our influence, we want to leave our audience with, and individuals that are going to get a copy of it, I think people itself, they need to see this.
Okay.
All right, without a doubt. What is one thing that you would like to leave somebody or something or someone, all right, after our conversation today?
I would like people to become aware
Okay.
of what they don't see.
Okay.
So when they walk into a beautiful facility like this, or a university, or an organization, a multinational billion-dollar business, if they look around and they see themselves.
Good.
So right now, we see a lot of inclusion of the Black community, the
Yeah, right.
Asian, the but we don't see the Native American.
Yeah.
So I want people to begin to try to see what they don't see.
Sure.
So to create a sense of inclusion on their part, if they could look and see, oh my gosh, yes, we had Indian dancers yesterday, but I don't see an Indian picture on the wall. I don't see an Indian server. I don't
Right.
see an Indian worker. I don't see an Indian presenter,
Sure.
an indigenous presenter. So that is, part of my view from the bottom
Right.
as I'm looking, at the, when I came in, I'm a first timer. So I
Sure.
looked, there was an NSA Black gathering. There was an Asian gathering. There was a rainbow gathering. There was a Latina and Latino gathering, but there was no indigenous gathering. And I thought, this as organizers and as property owners and as people who live and work and play
Right.
here.
Yes, especially in this area.
Yes,
Right. Exactly.
especially here because the population is enormous.
Good deal. Superb. And I'll talk to management about that.
Thank you. I will too, actually. I will, and I did.
We definitely have to go. Oh, good.
Oh,
Superb.
thank you.
Okay. It's good, without a doubt.
Thank you.
So this has been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. It's education for me too as well.
Miigwech.
How can people get in touch with you?
Well, they could go on my website, vistaseminars.com. I have a couple of pages of what I do. I have a TED Talk called The Power of the Pandemic.
Okay. Love
So
it.
if you Google Power of the Pandemic, it shows that the pandemic created in the first time in my life where everyone was treated equally.
Right.
So the
right.
blacks, the whites, the red, and the yellow people all
Okay.
had the same mandates, restrictions, and lockdowns. Except, of course, the mega, super duper,
Sure.
Tom Hanks and Jeff
Right,
Bezos
exactly.
of the world.
Yes, yeah, right.
So I'm not there yet. So if you Google on TED YouTube, The Power of the Pandemic, it shows my talk that shows the four colors of the world, basically, because the blacks are from Africa, the whites from Europe, the red from the Americas, and the yellow from Asia, that we all literally had to follow the same system.
Yeah, right.
Because the system, particularly for First Peoples of the land, and my statement in a lot of my sessions is the cruelest systems that have been entrenched in society are the toughest to change.
Oh, wow. My gosh. All right. Well, so, okay, bam. Okay.
Thank you.
NSA influence themselves.
Nyawa.
Welcome. All right. And
Nyawa.
thank you very much. First
you.
timer.
Yes.
All right. Which is travel.
Thank you.
How's it been so far?
It's beautiful. I just.
Yeah, of course it's beautiful. You get to meet a guy like me,
Of
right?
course. There you go. Of course. Yes, you're the bonus.
So thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
attending itself. Influence themselves. Want
Okay.
to thank very much.
Thank
you know
you.
where to go, how
Yes.
to go, how to get there.
Thank you.
And I think this education is very important.
Okay.
Thank you very much
Okay.
for being with us today.
Nyawa ko. So nyawa ko. Ona giwahi. Ona.
We'll see you
Miigwech.
later, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.